Thanks for checking out the Project 619 vlog. I'm Jason.
I'm Julia.
And today we're going to tackle stories that we are familiar with from 2015 that we think are going to shape the conversation in 2016. So to start off, I think one of the stories that made a lot of rounds on the headlines was sexual fluidity, the term sexual fluidity. Miley Cyrus made this popular, and I think it's actually something that's probably going to be here to stay. And I would love to hear what your thoughts are on this and why it's going to shape a lot of conversation in 2016.
Well, I think the reason it's going to shape the conversation is just because the conversation used to be just kind of limited to LGBT, and now there's so much more conversation about all these other facets of sexuality. And I think people are kind of beginning to talk about, well, sexual fluidity has always been a thing, we're just kind of putting a name to it. So it's really interesting how the conversation kind of went from one thing to a whole other world of another. And so it's really important to understand that that is something that is being talked about and is being explored in our culture right now. And so we as people, and especially people who talk about sex and sexuality, really need to be aware that, this is something that we should understand and talk about.
Well, I would say as a Christian, I think that we've got to find ways for our sexual ethic to be communicated in the midst of the changing world that we live in. Because we've got to find ways to engage in these topics with knowledge, but with humility, but with also a desire to engage with consistency. Because it's not always what's been done with our Christian sexual ethic. And so that's, I think, going to be something that's important in 2016.
Totally.
What else stood out to you in 2015 that could shape this year?
Well, definitely the obsession with celebrity sex status.
Oh my gosh, right? Like, I forgot about Russell Wilson, right? On our Facebook page, got all of these likes and these shares because he had chosen to wait. He's dating pop star Sierra and had made a decision to wait. And it was like one of our most liked or most shared statuses. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, that drives me nuts. I mean, we're trying to communicate all these other things, and here's Russell Wilson, and he gets the most shares for choosing to keep his pants on.
Well, and people are obsessed with that because it's so different from what they would expect from someone like Russell Wilson, who's this big manly football player, and
Tim Tebow,
who got a lot of flack, honestly, online because he allegedly was dumped by his former girlfriend, Miss Universe, because he was committing to wait and have sex, and that wasn't okay with her anymore. And so, people are just really, really interested about why a celebrity and, an attractive, popular celebrity would choose to not have sex, especially in the case of Russell Wilson with someone, everyone's like, oh, he's dating someone as attractive as Ciara. Like, why isn't he having sex with her?
Well, and I think it works the other way too. Like, I think that one of the things that I've seen in our culture is one of shaming. I think, or I might term it as shameology. Like, I think that it's something that exists that I think people want, and maybe don't intend to, but have shamed others for the choices they're making, especially as it relates to sex. So I think that we live in a culture that's obsessed with sex status, but also lives in a culture where maybe without intention, we have done shaming. And so we've got to find ways to use those opportunities to speak sex-positive, biblical education into the midst of that conversation.
Yeah.
One of the other things that I think is worth noting is the amount of porn that was watched in 2015, which is absolutely crazy, right?
It's crazy.
Pornhub released a study, and what did it find in its study?
Yeah, Pornhub released their year-end statistics from 2015 a couple weeks ago, and what they found was that on their website alone, which is just one website.
Wow.
That there were 87 billion views of porn videos, which is crazy. And the reason that that's important is because it shows just how much pornography is being watched. And what we don't talk about as a culture is how pornography is negatively impacting our sex lives, the way we think about sex, our relationships, all those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Porn has a huge impact on that. And I think we're finally coming into a time in our culture where people have been watching enough porn from a young age where they're finally starting to realize the impact it's having.
Yeah, I think 2016 is going to be a year where the conversations around pornography are really going to start having an impact on behavior. I really believe that. I think that as a culture, we're starting to get fed up with a lot of what's happening. And I think there's great opportunity both in the church but also outside the church to use this for a catalyst for even deeper and more meaningful conversations about relationships, about how porn is impacting the brain, and actually how it's impacting society.
Yeah.
So last one, Tinder, right?
Tinder,
hookup apps. I mean, like the swipe right, swipe left. The days have changed when you only had one or two choices of who you might ask out, and just you would hope that they might say yes to today, where you got dozens, if not tens of choices, tens as in 10, 20, or 30 or 40 choices that you could choose, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how is this impacting the aspect of dating in our culture today?
Well, it's changing it because before we didn't. Well, while we may have had a lot of choices, we weren't as aware of all those choices on a 24/7 basis. And so now with all these dating apps or hookup apps, quote unquote, now we have all these people, potential matches at our fingertips, where it's totally changing the way that we think about committing to just one person.
Yeah.
So not only is it shaping dating, it's also shaping how we think about marriage and the possibility of, I won't be with any of these people ever again, and there's so many people I could potentially be with.
Yeah. Well, these are the conversations that we think are going to shape 2016, and we're going to talk more about them here on this vlog. So for now, we just want to say thank you for watching, and we'll catch you on the next vlog. Well, we thank you for checking out Project 619 Vlogs. Make sure you subscribe to our channel by hitting buttons somewhere around. But we would love for you to watch us, and we can do more robot dances if you subscribe.